What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing great. And let's start with our first story. Am I the a-hole for making my wife confess to all her friends and family that she cheated on me if she did not want a divorce? I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 32 female, for 5 years, and we have 3 children. A few months ago, I found out from my wife's texts that she had been cheating on me, and I confronted her about it. She confessed to it and gave me an entire breakdown of her affair, which had lasted for a month. I was devastated and asked her why. She gave no excuses for it and said she had caught feelings for her affair partner, which were wrong, and she had acted on them. He was her coworker. I asked her if I lacked anything, and she said no, and she was in tears. I needed a few days to process this. My wife gave me space, but she asked me many times to reconsider divorce because it would uproot the lives of our children. She said she would do anything I wanted for the rest of my life. After a week, I decided that I needed only one thing from my wife to completely forgive her, and that was to call each and every one of her friends and family and confess to her affair. I told her that was my only condition. She was really hesitant and asked me if I could reconsider the condition, because this would ruin a lot of her friendships and family relationships. But I told her this was what I needed as a part of my forgiveness process, and that if she didn't do this, I was going to start looking for a divorce lawyer. Over the next week, my wife made a phone call to all of her friends, parents, grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, pretty much anyone she knew, and confessed to her affair. It was hurtful, and there was a lot of crying. My wife was hurled with a lot of shouting. By the week's end, my wife had called everyone I had wanted her to call. It has been a few months, and my wife and I actually have a really strong relationship now. However, my wife has pretty much become isolated from her friends and a lot of her family. This has hurt her a lot, and she spends a lot of nights crying. But she says this was worth it for our relationship and for our children. And then OP asked if he's the arsehole. And now to the update after 2 months. I feel really guilty even typing this out, but I am now considering a divorce. While I still love my wife, her personality has completely shifted over the past few months, and she is no longer the joyous and energetic person I fell in love with. Instead, she's always sad, gloomy, cries often, and very, very clingy to me. I admit that I made a mistake asking her to confess her affair to everyone, because it has just changed her personality completely. I wish she could go back to her joyous nature, but I don't know if it's possible anymore. I'm not sure how to tell my wife I am considering divorce, because it would just break her heart. Hmm. Looks like OP wanted revenge, and he got it, but he made it everyone else's business in the process. I don't know if I should feel sorry for the wife. Maybe she deserves it. And now the second story. Girlfriend cheated and now wants forgiveness and a clean slate. I, 29 male, met my girlfriend, Kim, 24 female, in July 21st. She was working at an upscale restaurant that I ate at frequently. I tried to ask her out several times before she said yes. After 3 months, she asked if we could be exclusive, and by March 22nd, we moved in together. Before she moved in, I took her to meet my mother. Kim was very anxious, but not as much as I was, as my mother can be very intimidating and overpowering. But Kim charmed my mother and won her over. My mother said in large part, it was how she treated and looked at me. After we had been living together for a while, my mother quizzed us about our plans, specifically about our goals. Kim was a sophomore in 2020, and COVID caused her to drop out and lose her scholarship. She really wanted to get her degree to have a chance at a real career, but it was always out of her reach financially. Later that day, my mother reached out to us and offered to pay for Kim's tuition. So Kim started back in the fall of 23 at my alma mater, just a 35-minute drive from my house. I got to visit my old stomping grounds and show Kim around the campus. The first semester was great. The second semester saw red flags start to emerge. Kim was no longer comfortable with me hanging around some of her friends and said me being 6-7 years older than her friends made them feel uncomfortable. She also had a study group that met on Wednesday night and an early class on Thursday morning. So she started spending Wednesday night with one of her girlfriends so she could get more sleep before class. She wanted to go to Cancun for spring break until I offered to book our tickets. She wanted to go alone with her girlfriends. Some of her girlfriends got invited to a frat party at my old frat house. I insisted on going with her, knowing what those parties were like, and we fought until I foolishly caved. When she got home from the frat party, it was late and she went straight to bed. Early the next morning, she got into the shower, and I slipped in there with her before she realized it was not an unusual occurrence. Then I saw the bruises on the hips and ass, which she said were from playing volleyball drunk. I know better. I have left bruises like that on her. But the one she tried her best to hide was a bite mark and hickey on her breast. I wouldn't listen to her lies and said she needed to leave. After she was gone, I reached out to one of my frat brothers. I knew his little brother was living at the frat house and was surely there at the party. I talked to his little brother and explained my situation and described my girlfriend and the purple flower tattoo on her hip. He was very forthcoming and sent me a couple of pictures and a short video. He was adamant she hadn't been slipped anything and wasn't that drunk. She came over to talk the next day and get her stuff. She tried to tell me it wasn't as bad as I thought and nothing really bad happened, that she wanted to put it past us and move on. The color left her face when I asked her if she had ever seen a BJ contest, where a group of girls raced to get their guy over the finish line first, and then I played the video for her. I said one of my first lessons as a pledge was, there are two types of co-eds, the ones you date and the ones that come to frat parties, and I guess we know now which one you are. I said until all those marks fade, I don't want to talk to you or even be around you. The fact I may still have feelings for you just disgusts me. I made her give me back the keys to my house and my credit card that she uses for gas, books, and other expenses. She does have a debit card on her account that I put money into so she has cash to spend. She has love-bombed me for days promising to change, no overnights on campus, no more parties or activities without me there, and coming home right after classes. She said she was stupid for listening to other people and letting them talk her into disrespecting me. Only a couple of my friends know what happened, but I haven't talked to many people about it out of shame. I'm angry at myself for actually entertaining the thought of giving her another chance. OP should be glad she showed her true colors now, and not after 10 years when he had already put a ring on her finger. She thinks of OP as a chump, a meal ticket, who will put up with her BS. And now, to the update. Finally got to talk with my mother, without divulging the dirty details. I told her I had proof that Kim had been cheating on me and that I had broken up with her. She was livid and said we will deal with that when I get home. She asked if I was okay and told me to contact her lawyer if I needed anything. I told her where I had left things with Kim and she offered again to cut her trip short and fly back home. I told her there was no need to come back and that I had things handled. Then I get a call from my older sister. She is in her car and headed to my house. We talked on the phone for almost the entire 2-hour drive to my house. When she gets to my house, she makes me gather and box up the rest of Kim's things and call her to come and get them. Kim was not happy to see my sister there as I think she thought I would be alone and she could soften me up and plead her case. I told her she had till the first of the month to figure out car and health insurance, that I didn't want any contact with her again after today. Kim begged for a cooling off period and some counseling before we threw the last 3 years away. In school, my sister was a mean girl bully, but I never heard her utter some of the words she used to verbally lash out at Kim. At one point, I almost felt sorry for Kim for all the abuse she was taking. Almost. We finally got the last of Kim's stuff in her car. My sister is staying with me for a few days in case Kim comes over and falsely accuses me of something. Clarification 1. Kim didn't get to go on spring break with her friends because I refused to buy her tickets. 2. Kim also didn't know beforehand that the frat house party was at the same one I belonged to in college. 3. I'm cutting her phone off Monday and tying up the number so it can't be ported. I really admire how his sister stood up for him. And next, the third story is a confession of a 304. Title of this story is, I cheated on my sweetheart of a husband for 3 years with my violent, abusive ex. This is the one secret I am taking to my grave. My husband and I are both in our late 20s, and we've been married for 5 years and together for 6. We are really happy now, but it hasn't always been like that. My husband is a bit of an introvert, but he is getting better now. When we first got together, he was a very quiet, nerdy guy, and he could be charming, but sometimes he got carried away with his hobbies. He was really different from the guys I normally date, much nicer and more stable, and he loved me for me, which is an awesome feeling. I didn't realize how lucky I was to have him, and basically from the moment we started dating. And until 2 years into our marriage, I was hooking up with an ex. It wasn't an everyday type affair, but when he called me to hang out, I would drop everything and go. I was obsessed with him, and I wanted him to love me more than anything. My ex is the most hot, cold guy you will meet. He can be so exciting and fun, but he has a dark side like none other. He cheated on me a lot when we were together, and we had a few rough fights, so it wasn't a healthy relationship at all. But it was an addicting one. My ex didn't care that I was with my husband, and he knew he had me still. Even after the wedding, for some stupid reason I invited him to, he still came on to me hard. He would always tell me shitty things about my husband, and he liked being the other guy, as effed up as that is. It's only now I can realize what a scumbag he was. Basically, the affair happened every couple months when we would hang out or see each other, and it was a mess. I can't believe I was that person. It's so effed up. The affair is over now, but I'll always be haunted by what I did. I finally ended it when my husband and I decided we wanted to start a family, and my ex refused to listen to me and wear a condom. I was still in the fog with him and wanted him to be happy, but I didn't want to risk anything with my husband. And when he refused, it hit me how little he cared about me, and I just woke up. I realized how messed up everything was, and I've basically not said a word to him in 3 years, come April. My husband doesn't know anything, and I think it would crush him to hear about the affair. I know it's behind me, and I'm committed to being the best wife I can be going forward. I wanted to share this story to warn you guys. Never get into a relationship with alpha widows. They'll always compare you to their ex and never truly respect you. Just like the woman in this story, they'll be head over heels for the ex who treated them horribly. And that's the end of today's saga. Viewers, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.